A racially motivated act of white supremacy. President Biden condemns the mass shooting at an American supermarket. The community of Buffalo mourns 10 people shot dead in the racist massacre.
It's just too much. You can't even go to the damn store in peace.
A teenager has been charged with murder. He was already known to the authorities. We will bring you the latest from New York State. Also on the programme, the Queen sparkles at the celebration to mark her Platinum Jubilee, and they've done it again. Chelsea are triumphant in the Women's FA Cup.
This is ITV News with Romilly Weeks.
Good evening. The teenager accused of shooting dead 10 people in a New York State supermarket is said to have deliberately sought out black victims. 18-year-old suspect Peyton Gendron drove over 200 miles from his home to a predominantly African-American neighborhood to carry out the attack. He'd posted white supremacist material online, and tonight it's been revealed he'd threatened a previous attack. As visuals were held in Buffalo to mourn the lives lost, President Biden described the massacre as abhorrent to the very fabric of our nation. Our correspondent Robert Moore reports from the scene.
Today, the anguish of this city is clear to see. Activists walking the streets of the neighborhood, expressing their pain. There was also defiance and a declaration that this act of madness will not destroy Buffalo.
This is where justice lives, and this is where racism ends. And pick the wrong city.
The 18-year-old suspect, Peyton Gendron, had driven more than 200 miles to launch the atrocity, deliberately targeting a neighborhood that he knew to be predominantly African-American. He has already appeared in court, subdued, wearing a mask, and in jail-issued paper clothing. He pleaded not guilty to charges of first-degree murder.
Possible active shooter at the top. There are still shots being fired.
The attack was aimed at this supermarket, police reacting within moments.
3 down inside so far, 2 outside, radio.
The gunman shooting victims both outside the front doors and then stalking the aisles for additional victims.
We're going to need some officers inside the top because we have numerous bodies.
Police have described it as a scene out of a horror movie.
He was very heavily armed. He had tactical gear. He had a tactical helmet on. He had a camera that he was live streaming what he was doing. Walked into the store and began engaging customers.
The president has also today expressed his horror at the events in Buffalo.
We must all work together to address the hate that remains a stain on the soul of America. The hearts are heavy once again, but a resolve must never ever waver.
Gendron's motives are known because he listed them in extraordinary detail in a hate-filled manifesto. He also live-streamed the attack on Twitch, a video-sharing platform. It's left behind not just shock, but a sense of fear.
It's just too much. I just can't. I'm trying to bear with it. It's just too much. You can't even go to the damn store in peace. It's so crazy.
It just hurts. Why somebody would do that.
What has only increased the sense of bewilderment and anger here tonight is the new knowledge that the gunman had threatened his own high school and had been recommended for a mental health evaluation, and even then was able to buy multiple weapons. This level of gun violence is nothing new, but combined with a white supremacist ideology and the gunman's attempt to amplify his actions across social media, and it represents another deeply disturbing insight into America's far-right extremism. Robert Moore, ITV News, Buffalo in New York.
Here, the Prime Minister will head to Belfast tomorrow to try and break the political gridlock at Stormont caused by the Brexit deal his government signed. The DUP have refused to take part in the Northern Ireland Assembly unless there are changes to rules which apply to goods sent from Great Britain to Northern Ireland. Well, David Wood is with me now. David, ahead of this visit, is the Prime Minister still threatening to override his deal?
Yeah, he's certainly talking tough ahead of what will be a crunch week of Brexit talks, focusing on the Northern Ireland Protocol, which effectively puts that trade barrier down the Irish Sea. And, of course, the reason for this protocol is to stop the need for a hard border on the island of Ireland and to protect the European Union's single trading market, which the Republic of Ireland is part of. But the government here argues that the protocol itself is undermining political stability in Northern Ireland, and therefore the EU should agree to change it. So a warning comes from Boris Johnson in tomorrow's Belfast Telegraph, in which he writes, "I hope the EU's position changes. If it does not, there will be necessity to act. The government has responsibility to provide assurance that the consumers, citizens and businesses of Northern Ireland are protected in the long term." Now, the EU threatening consequences if the UK acts alone. Ireland's foreign minister saying that just the threats from the UK could undermine the peace process.
And in this game of brinkmanship, any hope of a solution?
Well, very reminiscent of the Brexit talks, the years of Brexit talks, tough talking ahead of a big week, but also talk of hope and a landing strip for a compromise. Remember that sort of language? Well, both sides seem to think there can be agreement, but I think agreeing on the same compromise, well, that's still a long way off.
Let's see. Thank you, David. Finland has formally confirmed it intends to join NATO in a historic change of approach triggered by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The announcement was made by the Finnish President and Prime Minister in Helsinki. NATO, the defensive military alliance, has indicated it could make a quick decision. Sweden is expected to formally apply too. Hollywood royalty descended on Windsor this evening to celebrate the 70-year reign of our royalty, the Queen. In a special Jubilee celebration show, more than 1,000 performers from around the world came together to mark the anniversary. And as our royal editor Chris Shipp reports, there was one guest who everyone wanted to attend.
No one knew for sure if the Queen would come tonight, but the household cavalry practiced this afternoon as if their commander-in-chief would be there. This first big set-piece celebration for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee was held close to home for the Queen, right next to Windsor Castle. And the audience got their answer about the guest of honour a little after 8 o'clock this evening. As the national anthem signalled the arrival of the Queen, a huge cheer went up around the arena.
Her Majesty the Queen there.
The Queen knew what was coming tonight. The show producer who met her at her car told us he'd been keeping the Queen informed throughout the planning process.
Well, the Queen doesn't like surprises, I would say, and so the Queen has been kept well informed about what's going on in this 90-minute show. It's all about producing something that the Queen feels comfortable with.
The Queen watched an eclectic show which galloped to the reign of the current Queen Elizabeth all the way from the reign of the first Queen Elizabeth.
I know I have the body of a weak and feeble woman, but I have the heart and stomach of a king, and a king of England too!
No doubt intentionally there was a Four Nations theme to this performance. Catherine Jenkins sang both the Welsh hymn Calon Lan and Rule Britannia.
My lords, ladies and gentlemen.
And the star guest kept on coming.
Each year, the King's Troop fires 4 royal salutes to honour members of the royal family.
Tom Cruise chose to accept the mission to attend tonight.
If there is one act that's going to keep the Queen up this late on a Sunday night, it is, of course, a show involving horses, arguably her most favourite of the whole Jubilee. But there was one act in particular she really wanted to see tonight.
Sophie's eldest, who drove into the arena in the carriage and with the ponies left to her by her grandfather, the Duke of Edinburgh. A year after his death, that must have been a moving moment for the Queen on a night when the country began the celebrations for the Platinum Jubilee. Chris Shipp, ITV News, Windsor.
After the glamour of Eurovision last night, today it was back to reality for the victorious band members of Ukraine's Kalush Orchestra. There were family photos in Turin before it was time to say an emotional goodbye. Frontman Ole Siuk is returning to Ukraine, where he helps refugees. Today, the band released a new video of its hit, Stefania. It's already been seen 4 million times online. And finally, Chelsea lifted their second trophy in a week as they triumphed over Man City in the Women's FA Cup final. The Women's Super League winners were taken to extra time before battling to victory in a 5-goal thriller. Here's Chris Scudder.
A message of hope for peace in Ukraine before sporting hostilities between the teams who have dominated the cup in recent seasons. And they delivered a cup final classic.
Deep cross in.
Sam Kerr's early goal for Chelsea, wiped out by a moment of magic from City's Lauren Hemp. 1-1, and the goals just kept getting better. In front of a record Women's Cup final crowd. It looked like Chelsea had done it until 2 minutes from time. Hayley Rasso taking it to extra time. One moment of good fortune then settled the final. Sam Kerr's second goal with the help of a deflection. But they all count for overjoyed Chelsea boss Emma Hayes. And what a time for her victorious team. A fourth FA Cup success. The Super League title last week, and now a League and Cup double. Chris Scudder, ITV News.
And that's all from us this evening. From everyone here, good night.